All right, guys, welcome back to another video. We'll be talking about Avowed today, plus Palworld and a couple of other things. But before we do jump into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you do enjoy daily gaming news content, and check out my link to my Spotify in the description. So Avowed is coming out this year, 2024, looking like a November release, as it kind of got leaked and then taken off, but I would assume that they just didn't want to share it at that time, and that's going to be the date that they are aiming for. I believe November 14th, 2024. And we have a bit more information. We've already seen a lot about it. We've seen a lot of gameplay, some deep dives, the NPCs, some of the choices and talking you have with the NPCs and dialogue that goes back and forth. It does look like it is going to be a very good game. You really wouldn't expect anything less from Obsidian, as they have been knocking it out of the park with all of their releases. And we have now kind of the scope of the game. If you were expecting Avowed to just be a massive open world where you're exploring the entire time, it isn't going to be like that. It is going to be more like the Outer Worlds in terms of the size. We have this here saying Avowed will be about as long as the Outer Worlds in terms of the size and scope. This comes via the director Carrie Patel. And the game features a series of open zones that are connected and unlock over the course of the game, rather than one giant map that you can walk through from beginning to end. There's also going to be multiple endings in this game. Not surprising. I feel like that was expected. And they say that's bound to contribute to its replay value. A couple of very, very big choices that players will make at the end. And I love that. I love those massive choices that really determine the outcome of the story that you get compared to somebody else. Then when you go ask somebody how they felt about the game, what they thought about the story, they may have a completely different experience and opinion than yourself. And I always find that very cool. But I'm actually happy about this. I don't want this to be just a massive open world. We have lots of games with big open worlds even coming out this year that we are going to be able to play. And you think about the time frame of this release, you're also having the new Assassin's Creed Shadows game coming out, which I'm sure is going to take up a lot of people's times with the open world that they have there. And there's also, another Star Wars Outlaws from like Ubisoft's big open world games. They have some big games coming out at the same time. So you're going to have something here from Xbox and Obsidian, which is still a big RPG, but more scaled down in your adventure and exploration, where you're in those hubs and you go through and find everything you can in those hubs, and you go back and you unlock another part of the map. I'm totally okay with that. Very much looking forward to Avowed. And we will all definitely be talking about and playing it when it does release. Now, another game that originally came out on Xbox Game Pass, was a massive hit and a big win for Xbox to get people to go and subscribe to the Game Pass service and just be more interested in the platform, is Palworld. And there was a huge controversy with Palworld when it did first come out, with the comparisons to Pokemon and everything. But that's all behind them now. The game has been extremely successful, and they are going to continue to add more content to it. And you would think that they will eventually end up expanding this game out to PlayStation 5, as it is not currently on that platform. I would think even maybe at some point expanding it out to the Nintendo Switch, if they're able to get it to run on that, maybe the Switch 2 whenever that does come out. But they do kind of tease here that a PlayStation 5 version is coming, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this is the case. It says here, posting to X, Palworld community manager Bucky posted a message seemingly hinting that the popular monster collecting game could come to PlayStation. The message, which you can read below, shows the word Palworld surrounded by black, green, and white emojis. These colors are typically associated with Xbox, the only console that the game is currently available on. The game also released on Steam via early access. And then you can see under that, they added a blue heart, which you would assume represent PlayStation, meaning this game will be coming out at some point in the future, if they are hinting that. And they say here, I want to add more hearts, but not sure what color would fit. How about... And then there is a blue heart for PlayStation. And it's just kind of the natural progression once whatever deal they have is up, to be able to expand out and get more players into the world itself, and try to make as much money as possible. That is the way of the future. That is the way of the industry. Console exclusivity is fading away slowly or fast, depending on really how you look at it. And it's just, these developers are realizing, reach as many people as possible. It is always the best way to go. And for the gamers themselves, that is the best way. Another game that hopefully will be reaching more people at some point in the future is Final Fantasy 16. We know this was a console exclusive to PlayStation, and the game is coming out on PC. And then they put out this statement here, just talking about the 1-year anniversary of Final Fantasy 16, and potentially hinting that an Xbox version is on the way. They say the 1-year anniversary since the release of Final Fantasy 16 is already here. Thank you so much to everyone who has played the game. I wish to express my regards to all of you on behalf of the team. Since then, we have also released the DLC episodes, Echoes of the Fallen and the Rising Tide, and I hope everyone is having fun with those alongside the main game. The development team is currently hard at work on the PC edition. We would like to make Final Fantasy 16 available to play for as many people as possible, so watch out for that one too. Thank you for continuing to support Final Fantasy 16. So they say there they want to make it available to as many people as possible. Watch out for it. Whatever that would mean, whether that is just continuing to talk about the PC version or obviously making it available to as many people as possible, would be releasing it on the Xbox so that consumer base could play it too. It does make sense that this eventually will come out on Xbox with the relationship with Square Enix and Xbox, with Square Enix coming out during their financial reports and basically saying they are done with console exclusivity. It did not help them meet their expectations for their games with Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So going forward, we're going to see all their main titles, you would presume, release across every single platform available. So Final Fantasy 17 will be multi-platform, but at some point I would love to see this game launch on Xbox. People were predicting maybe at the Xbox showcase they would announce it. Maybe that's one of those announcements that's being held out until Gamescom or an event in the future when it gets closer to when they can actually put it out on the platform itself. So hopefully that does happen, and maybe at some point as well, Final Fantasy 7 Remake does eventually go over onto Xbox where everybody can experience that too. Now, a first-party Xbox game that has done very well and the 2024 version is coming out this year is Flight Simulator. In fact, it's done so good, they have announced that they are celebrating 15 million pilots. They tweet this out: "We're thrilled to celebrate 15 million pilots who have taken flights with us in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thanks to each and every one of you for filling the skies with your adventures, blue skies, and tailwinds." So 15 million pilots, a billion plus flight sessions with all of those pilots. I mean, people spend a lot of time in this game. I mean, some of the things and steps that you can get, so you're actually using like flight controls and you're not just using a controller or a mouse and keyboard, is pretty crazy. I've never really got into it, at least this version. I got into Flight Simulator way back when I think it was like Flight Simulator 98 or something. The really, really old versions. It was pretty cool to see how that functioned, but this one, it's amazing what they were able to do with the realism of it, the graphics, and how everything does look like you're truly flying through those areas. And we'll see how that does improve here with the 2024 version of the game. Now, we'll jump over here and talk a little bit about the Embracer Group. If you're a fan of Red Faction, it looks like there could have been a sequel, but as we know, with the entire reorganization going on at the Embracer Group, they had to cancel a bunch of games, close studios, and lay off employees. And unfortunately, one game I would have been very excited for if there was a sequel would have been Red Faction, and that apparently was canceled by Embracer with everything that was going on. It says here, Red Faction sequel was pitched and approved by Embracer before studio closures and job cuts killed the project. That's according to a new report from Rock Paper Shotgun. Now, the game itself, I don't think got very deep into development because the claim is saying they canceled a visual prototype for a Red Faction sequel in 2023. Red Faction has always been very cool with the gameplay and the destruction and the mechanics of it. It was always extremely fun. Way back when people were looking at destruction in the current day, Red Faction was already doing a lot of that environmental stuff that made the game kind of stand out from the rest. But it says here that at the Red Faction sequel was pitched and approved by Embracer before the studio closures. Developer Fish Labs worked on it internally as Project White and was working to develop something along the lines of 2019's Red Faction Guerrilla. The pitch involved the aforementioned visual prototype to show the direct parent play on for approval. And according to the report, the game was pitched several times to play on, with an elaborate one happening in November 2023. And that pitch, they say here, that also featured cosplay for the executives. Specifically, the quote is, "In addition to screening the fake trailer, team members pose as characters from the game, with the Red Faction Resistance Group hacking a presentation given by a sinister corporate agent." And according to what RPS was told, reaction to the pitch was positive, with belief that the game would be greenlit for development. That ultimately didn't happen after an internal vote was split 50-50, halting any chance of the game's creation after the game's cancellation. Fish Labs management was told to lay off almost everyone not attached to an active game project. And as far as what the game would have been about, the new Red Faction game would have been set 100 years after Guerrilla on a more terraformed and colorful Martian world map. There were plans for a female protagonist who would once again take part in an underground worker revolution, and there would likely have been a range of factions from predatory corporations and homegrown Martian communities with whom you might have had to forge alliances to complete your objectives. So there it is. I mean, sad. And the thing is, like, this IP is under Embracer. Will we ever see it come out again? Will we ever see a new one come out because of everything that has happened at Embracer with the reorganization and basically just becoming very, very conservative in the games I think that they do want to release, something that they will guarantee will make them money with everything that has happened in the gaming industry, the shrinkage and just the inflating costs of these games. And then you have to think about it. I mean, we just even saw the other day with the insane salaries that EA CEOs are getting and the C-suite executives. So maybe that is another thing that played into this. They didn't want to take any cuts to be able to get these games going out there and giving the fans what they want, which would have been another Red Faction game. Now, a big game that everybody wants to see, and it's been kind of crazy how we haven't seen anything of this now for the last number of years. This game is coming day one to Xbox Game Pass, but that's Hollow Knight Silksong. There's a lot of speculation out there that the game is in development hell, and that's why we have not seen it. But according to a playtester, that just does not seem to be the case. It says here on June 18th, Greg, the leading playtester for one of the most anticipated games in recent years, commented on Discord about its seemingly dormant status by claiming that he knew that they, Team Cherry, are not in dev hell. And then in a later message, he says that he also noted that developers set internal deadlines. They miss them regularly and not announce it to the public, implying that the same was happening to Team Cherry. So I guess kind of take that for what you will, but he is saying here it is not in development hell. We don't know when this game is going to be coming out. There was an actual store page, I believe on Xbox, that did pop up for it, which was signaling that it is going to be releasing in 2024. And it's getting closer to that. But you would have thought at Summer Games Fest or at the Xbox Showcase, this would have been a huge game to show off and to announce a release date for it. It would have brought a ton of excitement for Game Pass and for Xbox themselves by having it in there, and that just didn't show up. So either it's not close to being ready, or maybe they're holding it off for a later show. They also continue here and say, with a penchant for trolling, Greg's reputation isn't the best, but his insider know-how is all that Hollow Knight fans have to cope with the delayed release of Silksong. The wait has entered its 5th year, and yet Team Cherry has continued to mostly keep to itself. In another comment 2 days later, Greg acknowledged the anxiety of the fans by sympathizing with them and saying that the studio could be doing a better job with its communications, though he did so after having his earlier statements be made light of on the Silksong Reddit. So again, who knows, right? We don't actually know fully what's going on. You can take Greg's word here, the playtester's word, for the truth, or is he not, doesn't actually know 100% what's happening? But I feel like obviously it's been 5 years. There's probably something going on. I don't think this game is going to come out in a bad state or anything. I'd rather them just continue to work on it behind the scenes. And then when it's ready to be released, give a really cool trailer. And then you know that it's going to come out in the best state possible. But maybe we will still see it sometime here before the end of the year. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit here about Elden Ring and the DLC, because it's the highest rated DLC, or one of the highest rated DLCs ever released from a critical standpoint. But on Steam, it is actually launching to mixed reviews from the user scores. And you have people out there that will live and die by the actual user scores as to if they think a game is good or not. They don't always trust all of the mainstream or all of the professional, I guess you call them, reviewers. And right now, it isn't looking that great in the Steam reviews. You think overwhelmingly this would be very, very positive based off of the scores that it did get, but it is not hitting that. And there's 2 main reasons I think that this is happening. The first one is there have been some technical issues on PC, which is very reminiscent as to when Elden Ring actually released on PC initially. There were lots of technical issues. I had it on PC and it just didn't play the way I wanted it to play. It actually, I think, ran better on console at launch. But the other thing here, which is kind of hilarious, is people are angry at the actual difficulty of this game. So they're not giving it, I guess, a positive review score. It says here, most players bemoan the DLC's difficulty, which is very high even for a Soul-style experience. Many also complain that its enemies and bosses fight unfairly, and some report PC performance issues such as frame rate drops and stutters. So I don't know. I mean, that's what is happening here. If you think this game is too hard, you're not going to enjoy it, because you're just going to continuously be dying over and over in the game, not progressing. And there's a point where games are made kind of too crazy and too hard, where unless you have the most unlimited time in the world, unless you have the most unlimited resilience to want to get through an experience like that, it probably isn't going to be for you. There is this here. This is one of the reviews for the game. It says, while the world design and colors are really beautiful and a lot of enemy designs are too, there's a big problem with balancing. Every enemy does a lot of damage, has a ton of health, and has endless combos that leave nearly no openings to then start all over again with their combos. And they say several new enemy types spam attacks nonstop. There is no ebb and flow to combat, only trading blows, since they never stop spamming attacks unless parried. I mean, so those are some of the reviews. But I mean, what did you expect from an Elden Ring, a Souls game, a DLC? Did you expect it to be easier? I'm not sure what people were expecting. I was thinking this was going to be harder than the main game, but I guess because people have leveled their characters so high, they're expecting to be able to go in there and just be able to play through the DLC at a normal pace. But I feel like you just have to continue to get your character even more powerful before you even try to take on the Erdtree DLC. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.